Okay, welcome back. We're going to look at modular world building process with model kits. And for this particular segment, we're going to start off with a master asset list that you can make your own. So this is hyperlinked. You can see the cursor turns into a hand over here. And been working on this for a while. You can ignore the other tabs down here for now, but the main thing is that you understand the basic anatomies and parts of architecture, the columns, ceiling, dome, doors, floors, roof, stairs, tower, wall, windows. And so I just put those in alphabetical order, but particularly you want to know what your main structures are. And those are all kind of like a body has a torso, two arms, two legs, neck, and a head. Same thing for buildings. You then have the uh, extended pieces here, the ornamentation here, the details. This would be like your costume elements for a character. You also then have organic parts, so you could do trees, shrubs, grasses, rocks. You scroll down here, you have macro structures, kind of go from like five scales from really tiny soil to small rocks, medium to large ground textures, your main tiling functions, more extended pieces here, and different light sources from the wall, ground, ceiling, table lamps. Down here we have different skies and backdrops. So your skybox is different cloud types, celestial, atmosphere, particles, pollution, VFX. So I'll keep improving on this, and but make this your own. So start off with this, right? And then after you've taken a chance to think about what you need for your game, make an excellent asset list. Cover the big stuff. What do you need for the background? Is it going to have the atmosphere and the sky as the primary source of lights? What is the primary flooring, ground, walls, ceilings, roofs? Is there wildlife around people? Are there organic parts? Any game specific parts, of course, more importantly. Thank you, NVIDIA, for having an overlay. And so this is a Mushroom Valley, right? So some backdrops, skyline, some hills and plains. You can have the specific notes. This is really old, so one of the first ones I made a couple decades ago, but it still holds up pretty well. Earth clutter, big rocks, small, rubble, refuse, leaf piles, vines. So for this one, just getting something on digital or paper, giant mushrooms, long, medium, small, buildings, elevators. But that's the process. And this is another version of that spreadsheet you saw that's broken down more, a little more visually by section. So you have flora, tree model kits, the trunk, primary, secondary, branch, tertiary, different types of textures needed for those tree model kits. Here's some game specific ones: pipes, vents, ducts. So, get a list together. Here's organic in particular. Here's what they look like when you reassemble them. So this is another old project. And doing some sketches and doodles, gesture line, thumbnail, process, graphite, trying different types of markers and pens, and going through the stages of the thumbnail, silhouette, value, pattern, color, scanning them. Doing good reference is, I think, your first exploration. So these are like the Three Sisters, and I believe in Australia. Discovering some amazing places in the world and getting some good images and trying to identify the macro, large, medium, small, and tiny uh, parts and pieces. You can see this mountain is made up of these giant clefts with the erosion lines, but then down at the ground level, the rubble, the fragment pieces of the big pieces. You want to tie that together in your reference exploration and make sure you list those and model them out. Um, then doing simple structures. So you starting off. This is from the Pancake Rocks in New Zealand, I believe. This just shows like how simple the model can be when you start, and do a really fast first pass if you can on the sculpt, or just leave it as a block in for the white box, and then having tileable textures based off of your sculptures. And these are just some different sculptural elements that you are identifying from the study on the rocks: major clefts and fissures, major plane changes and facets, different tidal and erosion levels through the millennium for these formations, limestone layers, overhangs and undercuts, and try to avoid the unconscious repetition of strokes and shapes. So try and really kind of mix it up a bit. Some more explorations on, I believe, the basalt rocks, just really fun. There we go. There's the pancake rocks, and taking textures from photos, making them tileable, doing normal maps to blend together. We'll talk about that some more. Here's a typical tree forest. So the primary trunk here, the primary or the trunk, the primary branch, a secondary, tertiary, and leaves. I forgot to put on there as a root system. You always want to have like a, if it has a root system, make sure you put that in there. And there's a like a drawing image of pieces that turned into a larger element. So I think I'll stop there for this one. And let's take a look at like a Metropolis builder kit that I think is also worthwhile. So, the big megalopolis, mega city. Same thing, macro, large, medium, small, tiny. This is a really quick one done back in like Unreal 3, I think it was. I was trying to find the structures with the, break it up into its modular parts. So here's one of the first ones. This is back, yeah, UDK, Unreal 3. This is when we used to measure things in Unreal units. You use 16 units was a foot back then. But I came up with like a paneling system for the walls that had windows. You want a segment with four windows, or floor to ceiling window, or glass, or double or triple, different columns. I think this model kit had 60, 70 pieces in it. Here's the telharmonium, doing like a steampunkish kind of retro mechanical type building piece. So having wall segments here and arches and different cogs and pieces that could then repeated. And here's some of the level mapping. So you could do quick top-down site plan, floor plan with a key on there, and then some elevations. Again, trying to identify the core architectural forms. So those domes, columns, towers, and how they can be restructured and displayed quickly with little ink drawings. And then, of course, taking that to the next phase, whatever you're building, whether it's Mass Effect or Dragon Age or Whoville, right? So this is from doing some grammar induction, some SIGGRAPH research from many years ago. Trying to label what the main pieces are here, having the main facade or wall piece, a couple different windows, a couple doors, a couple platforms and frames, a couple staircases, and then parent and child, how you assemble those pieces is nearly infinite in terms of building out a village from a very simple model kit. So you can see this one's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So less than 30 pieces, right, to make a whole village. That's pretty cool, I thought. Here's a more, it is more difficult to do both inside and out. It's about 3 times the amount of work just doing the exterior to do both exterior and interior, because you need to have all those transitionary pieces. But this is a nice example of doing a fun top-down um, floor plan that would include a quick chart of ornamentation, of color palettes, and material swatches, as well as any applicable quick concept drawing, sketches, thumbnails, color comps to kind of conceptualize the final product of that. And I think radial symmetry and linear symmetry, so having something symmetrical left to right, forward and back is one thing, but having it be radial and then being able to expand, do a spanner pieces to expand that out left to right, or infinitely going in the other direction, is really helpful to understand. The details you could kind of skip for now, unless you're, as you're doing white boxing, you can get into the cornices, you could do 2D model kits, and it extends to almost anything. So this is building a spaceship fleet, having a set of pieces. So these are pretty finite set of parts here. It's pretty gun and wing heavy. There's not a lot of extra design that went in there, but there is some pretty interesting assemblies that were made from just a quick set of parts here, broken down from the hull, thruster, the cannons, a helm or dock areas. And I have a spreadsheet here. I have a note for myself from me some years ago. I never got back to it apparently. But here's the modular spaceship parts from actual rocket scientists. I forget the gentleman's name down in UC San Diego, talking about rocket thrusters for it was Daniel Horn, but and his friend were looking at Vega Strike. So different cargo pods, different hard points, different thrusters and coolants, exhausts, and shields and reactors. There's so much you could do with that, and these are not highlighted. Darn, I was hoping they were. But yeah, so that's going to take us to actually making some stuff here. So let's see. So we have that one, and let's go into actually building out. So here's a Japanese castle, and again, good reference, right? So if I pull up pure ref here, here's some Japanese castles that are pretty amazing. Love the study we did for SIGGRAPH some years ago. And how can we break this into the simplest parts possible, like simple shapes, to rapidly make a whole city of Japanese castles? So what's missing from here is to do some site plans, elevations, and floor plans. So I just typed in Japanese castle site plan, floor plan, elevations, and I can remove this to the side and bring this over. And we definitely can use a lot of these. So as I find each one, I can highlight it. Let's go ahead and make this a bit smaller so we can see these side by side as we're working. And we'll normalize all the size of these. I'll show you how to use PureRef here a little bit more. But you know, the old pencil drawings are great too. Some detailed ones that show, whoops. I got to remember not to drag the thumbnail, but to actually click on each one and grab the larger piece that shows. And you can see in the Google image search, you can see the pixel size, and there's a few. At least, you know, you want at least like 1,000 or so as you're doing these. Let's make sure we're getting the bigger, yeah, pieces on there. So we'll resize them after a minute. But this is how you want to approach any kind of architecture. You want the site plan, you want the elevation, you want the floor plan, right, that goes to it. And I think this one's probably going to be pretty historic. Yeah, let's grab that one too. I'm trying to find if it has the actual. There's so many, and I at the time when I did this, it's been quite a while, but yeah, I did have a lot of different Japanese castle names memorized. But yeah, just do your thing. Here's a good breakaway one. That's kind of fun. These can be almost more touristy. Yeah, tour of Himeji Castle, right? But it shows the inside and the structural beauty, the floor plan, as well as like a breakaway, like isometric. So I think some of the old pencil drawings too, like some artistic renderings, help kind of highlight um, what the adjoined buildings would be, some of the other structures that go with it. Here's a larger city one that's also pretty useful. Now, if I go up here to my search, I think it's useful to go in and do large only. That'll kind of give us a bit more useful images to look at, I hope at least. There's another one. There we go. Yeah, but I like these solid ink ones that are kind of simplified, a little more abstract, that helps you like really pick out the parts to model. And then once I do that, let's save here, and we'll go and see like how this assembly works. So here's a couple of the different steps in the process, right? So yes, so really just break down some simple panels, right? So making sure that everything fits on the grid. This one is really old, so it was done to a different grid system, I believe, back in the day. But even this little ornamental cornice piece here, like these are all snapped together. So would make one small piece and then snap them all together into a single, make sure they're merged together, have a front and a back, really. And then I even made a couple little crowns. But even that's more detailed than you need. To start off, you just need this, right? Like figure out what it is. Like what's the core essence? You have the foundation area down here, right? Down at the base with the water line. You usually got some water surrounding them. And then you had the main wall, a corner turn here, and then the roof with the corner turn piece here, and then a spanner piece that goes around. Then you have the corner or the gables with the end with the acroteria up on the corners. So, but this is what I start with, right? And then a couple of different panels. You want the windows separate. You want a double window. You want the wooden panel here. and then separate windows. So you can reassemble them, right? And you can come up with different configurations as you're working your way through your model kit. The next phase on that would be to bring them together. And this is still kind of dark. Let's see if I can lighten this one up a little bit. Yeah, it looks like this one's an old V-Ray file, so no more of that, thank goodness. All right, so yeah, but you can see here, like on the next phase, still not too fancy, but at least you can see now what difference a gable makes at the front here. A little bit of the acroteria and a little bit of the cornice piece in here. And here's the acroteria, which are the kind of sculptural corner pinnacles or finials that go up on the top here in the peaks. And for a quick experiment, it turned out pretty good. There's that one there. And I could have some parts extend out differently. I could reassemble them in different ways. And then once we get the parent-child relationship, which one, the foundation, and then the pieces that go on top of that and connect to which other parts. Then you can really run those into some PCG or some procedural world building programs, and then you can get into making a city out of them. So there's the for a start. That was the one I just showed. And then here you go. Here's like a larger piece here where they're really still a lot of these not that many pieces make up each building, but I could reconfigure, right, and make a near infinite number of stacks of stories in height of T intersections. And then, of course, if I want them to intersect correctly, I'd have to go back in and make some intersecting pieces. And like I said, if you want to do the interior, you're looking at least triple the work to go inside. So a lot of these, like you see from Kit Bash, are not game ready. They're just for outdoor background use only. So that's Japanese castles. Let's take a look at some simpler stuff. So robots, Cogbot. I have this on the robot modeling one. Just a set of basic pieces, spheres, pieces of cog, some cylinders. That's all these are. I think these ones are even simpler. They're just some cylinders. But torso, legs, arms, wrists. This one has a hat, Cogbot, and then doing the chairs. Take a look at the other. Here's. Oh, I guess I did not. Thought I did. Okay, yeah. So here's Maru years ago. So thumbnails and some elevations, and here's a city builder kit. Massive, large pieces doing like, giant roadways and segments. Chunks. There's one road chunk. My little peoples. There we go. So tiny, so long ago. Brings back memories. You know, capital, shaft, ornamental piece in the middle. Some of these have bases. Consider the pillar down here, the base on this one. Large mountain pieces, different, really simple models to white box in. And then you'll see the first art pass when you see from the drawings, what the archways, the bridges, the towers, and some larger modular pieces here. So this one is a good example of have like one corner, one doorway that's reused throughout, right? An archway, an open window. I have some pieces that fit in there. And getting down to the garden. This is a good, really useful, like the pedestals, urns, water baths, vases. These are little pedestals. And if I go look down here, yeah, pedestal for sculptures, that's pretty omnipresent and they're real basic, simple shapes, so they're easy to reproduce. Same thing with garden planters, real squares, and here's the basic wall to start off with, as well as a column to intersect. There's a little more complex lighting fixture, but here's some smaller, simpler light fixture. Here's a wall sconce with something to hang off the side. Kind of a floral motif going on here. Here's more retaining walls, really simple, a little different shape. Here's getting into the ornamental. So all of this ends up, going into, the building of a city model kit, which is of course is much more involved. Here's a Chaicha Hall or cavern entrance. You could see something like this in like Lord of the Rings, like the Dwarven or elves or orcs, where it's gonna like go into the side of a mountain, have doorways in there. Here's a mech versus kaiju um, model kit, right? It's like a science lab. So here's like a panel with some screens, like a war room type. The gates. This is from Gun Suits, which was a Pacific Rim, and interdimensional gates. Whoa, that are allowing these giant kaiju to come through. Rar, right? And some real basic shapes to start, cables. And as you get faster with this, you can do a little bit of modeling, even with the simplest shapes. Like a screen is pretty simple. It's just a box. Take one face, inset it, or extrude it out and scale it in. Um, some kind of reactors and large kind of heavy machinery, cylinders, reactors, swivels, things like that. Legs on the platforms. There's a little chair, there's a human-sized placeholder with some sort of like sci-fi looking chair and equipment. Stairs are reusable a lot. Stair ramps are always useful too. So something is like has can be stepped on. How you want to depict that. I think a ramp in the early phases is always useful. So that's kind of kaiju and um, gun suits, mech, chainsaw, arm, cannon, minigun, of course. Awesome, but really simple though. This was modeled really fast. I think the chainsaw probably took some extra time, but the rest of it was pretty quick. Here's another set of the parts to do like major tower work and how we kind of take some of these arcades and arches and repetitive patterns, columns to colonnades, these little corners, and repeat them, rotate them around for the radial symmetry, and get these really fun larger structures. Here's some more radial symmetry up here for the top portions. As I was kind of stacking and building pieces, we were doing more and more and making sure that there was a support arcade arch cornice piece that goes with that. Um, this became like a really fun city builder kit. And then to maybe Art Pass 1, getting more like steampunky with it. So I think this was a good example showing some of the modular sets for doing steampunk like music, pipes, almost like pipe organ type parts. There's some spinal column pieces doing some music-based robot systems into like some spinal columns and cog wheels. You'll always get use out of your cog wheels. You might as well make a few different varieties, learn your different cogwheel types if that's something style you might end up doing for any of your projects, and save them, UV them. Again, modular stair pieces. Know your stair height, your spanner. Typical. 7-inch, 6-inch riser, and maybe 9-inch on the run on the tread on there. So just kind of making sure that, and then a pipe kit is I can't recommend enough doing a pipe kit. Once you do one pipe for the length, a 90-degree elbow turn, a small one, medium one, a super large one, whatever size plumbing you're doing, you make it more realistic. And like I was saying, the stairs probably going to go fit in here, and you can span them across as well to do double widths on there. Some of these larger ones, you can see these just get reused over and over again and scaled up. And then, like I said, the cog wheels, there's one spike. And once you do one, you'll get a lot of run out of those, and the gears and pulley and then axles that hold them in place. It's a lot of fun. See if I can fly inside of here anymore. It's been a while. Yeah, so you can go inside of it and see that this one actually has interior and exterior. It looks like it has the catwalk platform system's not in here yet, but it was put in there a little bit later. But this is another fun system that's to use as an example. Another kit, the Tall Harmonium kit, another kind of cogwheel-ish part with a lot of the corner pieces. Here's the assembly for like the wall, which includes both the interior and exterior parts, and they're actually hollow inside, so I could break them open and put pipes and other stuff inside them if you wanted to make them destructible. But those were assembled out of these many of these smaller pieces here And you can see how I went about um, doing these like 90-degree turns in and out. And starting off again, real simple box. There's a simple box pieces here, right? Just a 90-degree piece for the white box. There's a simple piece here. It was once simple. Once you have the box simple, you could then do the side, you do the profile, right? And you do the profile from the side, and then from the top, that's when you start doing the profile from the top. So when you mix together a profile from side and top, then you come up with a unique design. And this was done with 3D Studio Max originally using spline modeling, which is great for architecture. But yeah, I get a lot of use out of these pieces over the years. More reactors, more like giant cog parts. Um, there should also be some furniture. Here you go. Here's a smaller, build a basic cog piece, pipe set, 90 degree, 135 degree, 180, small, medium, large, some collars and fittings, simple low poly pieces, but here's some of the more of the telharmonium air horns, sound horns that were fun to make back in the day. And yeah, this is brings back memories looking at this old stuff. Little podiums, parts and pieces. Everything's named. If we go through telharmonium, Mito line, like it could be named better. These are old, so go back and check on those. And then lastly, here's some of the like diode neon forestry, like kind of computer network environments. A bunch of these tree pieces that are actually more like diodes that could be combined. They all have the center point in the right spot and can be almost like a Tron like environment, kind of a surreal network type of tree model kit that can be reconfigured and rotated around in different ways, and can be walked on. Here some of the diode tentacles that were made, and a lot of them still hold up really well. These are newer; they're not that old. But yeah, so this tentacle's still kind of straight, but I did the intersecting triangle, so doing a tentacle model kit piece. I'll show you how to do that as well. But let's start off, spawning points, spawning platform, and but let's start off with something simple that you can get you going with your white box list. Okay, so here's a base model kit. Here's the floor, wall. The ceiling is, I believe it's hidden at the moment. Interior ceiling, there we go. Always hide the ceilings on their own layer because you want to see down inside what you're working on. Basic pieces of furniture, so you want a chair, a table, legs, couch, and a door and window and some lights, right? Window glass panes. These are all really simple to start off with, and then they all snap to the grid. And then you go from there and you can start reconfiguring whatever type of floor plan layouts that you want. Again, simple blocks and cubes to start, and then we go from there to exterior parts with have some domes and roofs and arches, a little bit in the way of the. See if I can get some of these. Oops, open all the way. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, it's still called P cube. But a lot of these measurements I have set up for you. So if you look here, you see the walls about 300 units or 300 centimeters high, about 400 centimeters wide, 400 centimeters high for larger exterior wall pieces, 10 centimeters thick or 10 units is good thickness for most walls. And so you have the step-by-step tutorial for this one. And let's see, where's my other model kit go? There we go. Model kit, modular kit for quadrupeds. You already have the biped one you've done, but let's do a quick interior in the next video. We'll start making a little laboratory and see what kind of scene we want to have for potential um, environment and prototype for games involving animals and creatures. All right, see you in the next video.